Hey, what's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Harrison Graham here from Chat Sports with another edition of NFL Daily. Today we're going to do a full Kansas City Chiefs mock draft. I go through all 7 rounds, all 8 of the Chiefs picks. So before we get started, let's take a look at the Chiefs' biggest needs entering the 2019 NFL Draft, which is just a week from now. Top need for me, it was a tough one. I have cornerback for the Chiefs. I think they need major upgrades there. Defensive linemen could use some help, especially on the edge as well. That's why I've got that too, but I think they shirted enough decently in free agency, so that's my second need. Safety there at 3, center at 4 after losing Mitch Morse in free agency. Running back / wide receiver is my 5th biggest need. That's dependent on what happens with Tyreek Hill. If he's good to go, it's not quite as big of a need, but potentially a big need for the Kansas City Chiefs if they have to move on from him. So let's get this mock draft started. First round, pick number 29 is where the Chiefs sit in this draft. These are the 5 options that were on the board, guys I was considering. You look at Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the safety out of Florida. DeAndre Baker, the corner out of Georgia. We've talked about him on previous shows. Clelin Ferrell, the edge rusher out of Clemson. A.J. Brown, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss. And Eric McCoy, the interior offensive lineman for Texas A&M. It was a tough decision between Baker and Ferrell. Ultimately, I went with Baker, my top need for the Chiefs. You look at what he did last year. 2018, Jim Thorpe, award winner, top defensive back in the country. Hasn't allowed a touchdown in the past 2 years at Georgia. Shut down Calvin Ridley a couple of years ago in the national championship game. True lockdown corner for the Bulldogs, best corner in the SEC the last couple of years outside of maybe Greedy Williams. But you look at some of the measurables, not great, a little undersized, slight frame for an NFL corner, but he makes up for that with technique and physicality at the line of scrimmage. This would give the Chiefs the top corner that they truly need. I like DeAndre Baker in the first round for the Kansas City Chiefs. You look at our big board of corners there. I mentioned Greedy Williams. Him and Murphy already off the board. Baker was sitting right there. I jumped at the bit. Mullen, Rocky Ascent, I think they're more round 2 guys. So I took Baker as my top player in the first round. Who should the Chiefs, I'll ask you guys, what should the Chiefs do with their first round pick? Should they go cornerback? Should they go edge? Both are available in this mock. Type CB for cornerback, type E for edge. Would love to hear what you guys think for the Kansas City Chiefs in round 1. Shifting gears to round 2. I've got some options for you guys, some interesting options. Guys, I didn't expect to necessarily be on the board. The wide receiver out of Ohio State, Paris Campbell, was still sitting there. L.J. Collier, the edge out of TCU. Emmanuel Hall's been rising on some people's boards, the receiver out of Missouri. Amani Hooker, safety, is another need for the Chiefs. Then the tight end out of Texas A&M and Jay Sternberger. I went with Paris Campbell. Wide receiver, not a huge need for Kansas City, but if he is sitting there at 61, this is a home run pick for a couple of reasons. Good fit in this offense with the way Patrick Mahomes likes to ride this ship. Quick passes to Campbell. He's a good vertical threat with that 4.31 40 speed. Big play, game changer is Paris Campbell. Plus, if something happens with Tyreek Hill, offers you a little security there. Gives you some threat in the kick return game, can return punts as well. I like Paris Campbell. He's a game-changing player. Not going to do a lot in the intermediate stuff. It's going to be quick passes or vertical stuff, but that's all really the Chiefs need. They got Travis Kelce going over the middle. Sammy Watkins can do more of that intermediate stuff. So I think Paris Campbell is a good fit here. You look at the Chiefs wide receiver depth chart. Again, Tyreek Hill, somewhat of a question mark. We'll see how that case plays out. Also, Sammy Watkins for the Chiefs has been injury prone in his career. You don't want him being your top guy. You got Sammy Coach, you picked him up. DeMarcus Robinson, okay as wide receiver 3. I think you get Paris Campbell in there. That's a big upgrade for the Chiefs. So I like the pick. It's not a big need pick, but it might be a situation where he's the best player on the board, and I certainly think that is a good option for Kansas City. Remember, Chiefs pick twice in the second round. Couple of picks later, they are back on the board. Round 2, pick number 63. Collier still on the board. Hooker still on the board. Sternberger still on the board. Trayvon Mullen, the corner out of Clemson. Kansas City could certainly draft 2 corners in this draft. Then you got the edge out of Alabama and Christian Miller. I went with someone from my alma mater, L.J. Collier out of TCU. he has been skyrocketing on draft boards. If he is sitting there at 63, I would be surprised, but in this particular mock he was. I think this is a home run pick for Kansas City. Versatile, had a big senior year after showing flashes his first 3 years at TCU. Bull rusher, puts left tackles and right tackles on their backs all the time. Just watch the tape. Really powerful. Doesn't have the best testing stuff at the combine, but very physical player, has a high motor. I think he can be a 3-down player, and you plug him in right away. He may not be a starter this year, but he is certainly going to be a guy that's going to rotate in early and often. You look at the edge guys the Chiefs have. They brought in Okafor and Ogbah in free agency, traded for Ogbah a couple of weeks ago from the Browns. Obviously, Chris Jones entering a contract year, sliding into the inside in the new 4-3 scheme. I'm interested to see what Breeland Speaks does this year in this new scheme, more of a put your hand in the dirt guy. I think that'll be nice for him. But I think Collier can offer a lot to this Chiefs defensive line. Again, definitely the best player on the board for me. I think these past couple of picks in Campbell and Collier are no-brainers. This show is brought to you by BetDSI, the #1 online sportsbook out there. Use that code LIVE120 to get a 120% bonus. Put down $100, you'll get $120 for free. Plenty of NFL prop bets you can do. NBA playoffs are going on. You can bet on those games as well. All kinds of bets you can do on BetDSI. Go to chatsports.com/bet to make some money today. So let's get back into the mock draft stuff. Let's recap what we've done so far. Actually, we'll do that in a minute. Let's go to round 3. I want to recap my first 4 picks and then go to the day 3 picks. You take a look at round 3, pick number 92. Chiefs got 4 of the top 92 picks. That's pretty good draft capital. OSHANE XIMINES was on the board, the edge out of Old Dominion. Bobby OKEREKE for the linebacker out of Stanford. Isaiah Johnson, surprisingly, was still on the board, the corner out of Houston. Another corner out of Auburn, Jamal Dean. And then a guy that's been moving up draft boards, Sione Takitaki. I know Tom Downey here at Chat Sports is a big fan of his. I went with a second corner in Isaiah Johnson. I know it's kind of crazy in theory to take 2 corners in the top 4 picks, but I just think that's the thinnest position for the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Good value here, has good size and speed for an NFL corner. 6'2", ran in the 4.4s at the combine. Doesn't have the best ball skills despite converting from a former wide receiver, but he's still improving as a player. Again, played the last 2 years at corner after starting his career at wide receiver. I think you give him a year or 2 of NFL coaching and development, this guy can project as a solid number 2 corner in the NFL, and especially for the Kansas City Chiefs. You look at what the Chiefs have at corner, it's not great. Charvarius Ward did some nice things at the end of last year. Of course, they got him in that trade for the Cowboys about a year and a half ago. Bashaud Breeland, they brought him in free agency. He's more of a stopgap guy at this point. I think he can be your number 2 corner this year. Kendall Fuller, great nickel corner. You don't want him having to play on the outside if you can help it. Obviously, at safety, you brought in Tyrann Mathieu to help things out there as well. But to get back to it, we got DeAndre Baker already. You got Isaiah Johnson. I think that really shores up the corner position. That could be your 1-2 punch on the outside for years to come. Paris Campbell, look, it's not the biggest need, but if something happens with Tyreek Hill, it's a home run hit, and I think he's a major upgrade from DeMarcus Robinson, even if Hill is still there. LJ Collier, best player on the board. You need another edge rusher, defensive lineman. That's a good pick there. So I'm pretty pleased with my picks 1 through 4. Feel free to comment in the comment section to hear what you guys have to think about the first half of my Chiefs mock draft. Want to remind you guys, 1 week away from the NFL draft, we'll have you covered for all 254 picks over the 7 rounds and 3 days here on Chat Sports. Go to youtube.com/chatsportstv. You can subscribe and tune in for the entire draft as we will be live for all 3 days. Let's shift gears to day 3 picks for my NFL draft. I'm going to go with an interesting selection here. Here were the guys that were available at 167. Remember, Chiefs don't have a 4th round pick, so they don't pick for a while. Round 5, pick 167. The tight end out of LSU, Foster Moreau, was available. Zedrick Woods, the safety out of Ole Miss. Mike Edwards, another safety there. Travion Williams, really productive player at Texas A&M. Preston Williams out of Colorado State. Already got Paris Campbell, but he was on the board as well. Give me Travion Williams out of Texas A&M. You run for over 1,700 yards in the SEC, you're doing something right. Set a A&M single-season rushing record last season with those 1,760 yards. Really explosive year last year. Was productive all 3 years at A&M. Offers some in the receiving game, 27 catches, almost 300 yards there. I think you plug him into this Chiefs backfield, he can contribute right away. I'm not sure he ever turns into a 3-down back. Kind of undersized at 5'8", but he is 205. So he's got a decent running back body. I think he's a 12 to 15 snap play guy for the Chiefs. But you look at this Chiefs running back depth chart, they don't have a true 3-down running back. Damian Williams did some nice things at the end of last year. Obviously, you add Carlos Hyde in free agency. Darrell Williams, bit of an unknown there, did some things in short yardage last year down the stretch. I think this is a running back by committee in 2019. I have a round 4 grade for Travion Williams. So if you get him in round 5, I think it's a really good value pick and a guy that can produce from day one. So I'll ask you guys, what's the bigger need for the Chiefs? We've already taken a receiver. We've already taken a running back, Paris Campbell, Travion Williams. What do you guys think? You think receiver is more of a need or running back is more of a need? If you think it's a receiver, type 1. Type 2 if you think it's a running back. I love reading you guys' comments in the comments section. I will be checking that out, so do that when you get the opportunity. Moving forward to round number 6, pick 201. A couple of round 6 picks for the Kansas City Chiefs. Boom or bust type players is the way I typically like to go when you get this late in the draft. You see who is available on the board. Evan Worthington, the safety out of Colorado. He's got an interesting career. Kevin Wilkins, Lucas Dennis, Cody Thompson, the wide receiver out of Toledo, really productive. I like what I've seen from him. Ben Burke-Kirven, the linebacker out of Washington. Washington's always producing NFL players, so he would certainly be a decent option there as well. I went with the safety out of Colorado, Evan Worthington. Had a breakout 2017, missed some time last year as a senior with a concussion, missed 3 games or so didn't have quite as productive of a season. Interesting career though. Missed all of 2016 with a violation of team rules, suspended for the entire season. They kept it under wraps at Colorado what he did, but if you're missing an entire year in college, it was probably something pretty serious, so that's a bit of a red flag there. No incidents the last couple of years, at least that were reported from Colorado, so that's a good sign. As far as him as a player, good coverage skills, not a very tough player, not a great tackler, not good in the run game. He's much better in pass coverage, so maybe he's a guy you can bring in nickel situations. Again, in round 3, you're kind of looking for boom-bust type guys. He's got some decent upside there. Also a guy who could be out of the NFL pretty quickly or maybe not even make the roster. So that's what I got for Evan Worthington, my first 6th-round pick. Another 6th-round pick. Here were the guys available on the board just 13 picks later. Quarterback Brett Rypien. Interesting guy here. Quarterback out of Boise. I think obviously Patrick Mahomes is going to be the Chiefs starting quarterback for hopefully the next 15 years, but they could upgrade at backup quarterback. Rypien's a good option there. Jalen Hurd, the wide receiver out of Baylor. He's done a variety of things in his college career. Cameron Smith, DeShaun Davis, a couple of linebackers there, and DeMarcus Christmas, the defensive tackle out of Florida State. I went with Jalen Hurd. Really good athlete out of Baylor. Started his college career at Tennessee as a running back, played it there for a couple of years. Decided he felt like his best future was at receiver in the NFL, which is interesting because he would have been an early round selection at running back, but shelf life in the NFL is longer for a receiver, so I certainly understand where he's coming from. Complete package from an athleticism standpoint. 6'4", 230, can run, can jump, can do all those things. Tested pretty well at the combine. This is a high upside value pick in on day 3 in round 6. I don't think he'll be there, but in this mock he was available, so I went ahead and with that selection there. What's your day 3 NFL draft philosophy? Do you like to get a depth player, maybe a guy who can come and give you a few snaps, or a high upside player like an Evan Worthington, like a Jalen Hurd? I think in Hurd's case it might be both. I think he could see some time early and have a huge upside as a potential starter down the road. Type D for depth, U for upside in the comments section. Always love to hear what you guys have to say there. Last pick of my Chiefs mock draft, round 7 at this point. you're just, good luck. These guys typically don't make the roster. Those linebackers still there. Again, this is just 2 picks later for the Chiefs in Davis and Smith. Christmas still on the board. Zach Gentry, the tight end out of Michigan, was there. Carl Granderson, the edge out of Wyoming. He's kind of an interesting prospect. I went with Cameron Smith out of USC. Not a great athlete, but kind of a glue guy, good locker room guy. 4-year starter at USC, started 44 games, hard-nosed player, team captain, classic guy you want in your locker room. Not sure he has a huge NFL future. Maybe he can do some things on special teams, but if not, he's going to have some trouble, and he's not a great athlete, struggles side to side, played Mike in college, probably going to have to be an outside linebacker in the NFL, rotate in at best. I don't think he's ever an NFL starter, but if he can make your final 53, contribute on special teams, he's a good high character guy. You look at the Chiefs linebacker depth here. I like the starting 3 in Hitchens, Ragland, and Wilson. O'Daniel is an interesting piece as well. I think he has a better 2019. Not a ton of depth there, so maybe Smith would have an opportunity to make the final 53. Probably more of a practice squad guy there, but I think it's certainly an interesting player in Cameron Smith. Just to recap my entire mock draft, you look at my premier picks, and that's days 1 and 2. First round pick, again, we went DeAndre Baker, the corner out of Georgia. Big fan of his again. If you guys don't know, how many touchdowns did he allow the last 2 years? 0. Pretty productive quarter at Georgia. They did not throw at him very often. Paris Campbell, LJ Collier, 2 players that are very high on my board. Surprised to see them there in round 2. Collier obviously filling a need there at edge. Isaiah Johnson, I think drafting 2 corners in this draft is more than okay for the Chiefs. They need a lot of help there. You look at the day 3 guys in my mock. Travion Williams, I think, is a good value pick in round 5. Very productive at Texas A&M. I think he can come in right away and be a rotation back for you. Worthington and Hurd, more high upside guys, more lower floor guys. Cameron Smith, I think he's a practice squad type player, good character guy. Round 7, you're not going to do much better than that. The show's not about me, though, guys. It's about you. What do you guys think of my Chiefs mock draft? Draft is just a week away. Would love to read your comments. You can comment in the YouTube comment section. Tell me that it sucks. Tell me that it's awesome. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. Whatever you guys, I'm here for you. YouTube.com/chatsportstv is where all of our videos are, including your Chiefs shows.